And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the prosecution is not going to get that man today. No, because I'm going to get him.
This is the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, a very special edition for today, Sunday, September 23rd, 2012. I'm Doug Hagmann. With me is my co-host, Joe Hagmann. He's my son. We are the premier father and son investigative team on the Internet. You are about to hear 2 hours, and perhaps 3, of unbiased and uncensored news and analysis as it pertains to the film, the explosive film, Innocence of Muslims. With us, Mr. Stephen Klein will be joining us here shortly. He is the official spokesperson for Innocence of Muslims. Now, Mr. Klein has agreed to interview to this interview tonight with us, as he's turned down, by the way, CNN. He's turned down Fox. He's turned down MSNBC. He's also declined going on the record or talking with the Associated Press and other print media. So tonight we are attempting right now to enact contact with Mr. Klein. We had this scheduled at the very last moment because, as you can well imagine, folks, he's getting barraged by the media, and he's shielding himself from not only the media, but from a very tremendous, extensive fallout that this film has produced. But he stepped in the middle of it. So by agreeing to be the unpaid volunteer spokesperson for this video, so he should be up for the interview. Joe, anyway, welcome to a very special program tonight.
Yeah, special and
exclusive
and surprising all at the same time, Larry, last minute. It looks like the guest tried to call in and the call was dropped, so we're going to try and dial to him and give him a call.
All right.
Now.
Yeah. But, can you take care of that, or do you need me to?
No, I'm taking care of it right now. If you can hear the ringing, this is the call to Mr. Klein.
So this is live radio, and live at the last minute radio, too, no less. So anyway, folks, you know, while we're attempting to do this, and we're doing it live, I've got to say this. We've really I got to tell you, this film has been blamed for the uprisings worldwide, global uprising worldwide. Now imagine that. Look, imagine having the president.
The film, Innocence of Muslims, has, regardless of what it, how it affects people as far as being sensitive to their religion. If somebody made a, film that mocked God, we wouldn't be happy with it. But you wouldn't see Christians in the streets burning down.
No, we've got a jar. We got a crucifix in a jar of urine in New York City right now, and I don't see any Christians.
And many theories are out as to who made this film, and then as to who may have changed or edited this film, and then as to why they may have done it, and the
blowback from
none. I mean, we don't believe in coincidences here. The alleged blowback from the film that started on 9/11, months after this movie was produced, and reading an article here about Steve Klein that they are really taking shots at here.
Oh man!
According to the Huffington Post, it says Klein has given several interviews about the film, and the man he says he knew only as Sam Basile,
right?
And his using attention to talk about his own political views, which included hatred of radical Muslims, according to the Huffington Post. But they're making this look bad. They're saying his political views as hatred of radical Muslims, and rewording that a dislike for killers and people You know.
Well, folks, I want to tell you, and Joe, I want to tell you this. I did talk to Mr. Klein a couple of hours ago. All right, he is really hunkered down, in a sense. He's being very, very cautious. Look, this guy's getting death threats from every corner of the world. You've got Obama, you got Hillary, you got the UN ambassador. You've got global people. You got global people coming down on this guy. Global leaders coming down on this guy. That, of course. You know,
Right.
I got to tell you, that.
I mean, this film has been blamed for more unrest and death and destruction. Even the Libya assassinations that were coordinated,
that's
that
right,
were
and they're
warned
still,
about.
They're still sticking to that story today,
Yes.
this morning. Robert
They
Gibbs.
are stating that, you know, the Libyan, the attack on the Libyan consulate that killed 4 Americans, including 2 Marines and a ambassador, you know, was started by the film. And I mean,
And
there's many news
true.
articles that are, and you know, news broadcasts that are saying, you know, the anti-Muslim film that started the surge in violence in the Middle East. I mean, it is being used as a scapegoat for every suicide bombing to protest to, you know, embassy attack in the Middle East. And over 11 different countries. We see 11, 12 countries having unrest. I mean, we went through a list on Friday on our show that outlined, you know, several countries. I think even Bangladesh, the Netherlands. There were countries that we didn't even know were in the middle of these protests that had protests and injuries and battles with police going on. So, I mean, what we are seeing here is some kind of propaganda attack, either to blame the freedom of speech, to further clamp down on religious speech, saying that that is not should not be protected under freedom of speech. Instead, it should, you know, we should have the freedom of speech to the point where it does not offend, you know, religions, which is completely wrong and unconstitutional. And we're sorry for the delay on trying to get our guest on the line. We are going to attempt to give him a call one more time.
Yeah, and before we do that, I want to tell the audience, look, I interviewed this guy, Mr. Klein, that is, today. Kind of like a pre-interview interview, just to kind of get his take on some things, because I want to know where this was going to go. I didn't want to bring somebody on that really had nothing to offer. And folks, here's what you're going to expect once we get Mr. Klein on. Number one, Joe and I are going to get to the bottom of who's behind this film, what the reason was, if Mr. Klein knows. Because I'm not sure at which point, and I'm not clear on this, at which point Mr. Klein kind of came into the mix. But we're going to find out about that. We're going to find out about, you know, what he's done with respect to, is he trying to advance the blowout? Is he trying to exacerbate the chasm here, or what's he trying to do?
And with that, I think we have Mr. Stephen Klein on the line with us. Mr. Stephen Klein, are you there?
Yeah, I am, but I see you guys called. I'm sorry, I just got done doing another interview, so
hey,
I don't even know who you guys are.
I thought you were ours. No, we are. Okay, we're the Hagmann Report. We're obviously. I talked to you, Mr.
Okay, this is Mr. Hagmann.
Hagmann, right. Well, you and I spoke.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was on the line and I thought it was going to come in Skype. I apologize. Go ahead. You got my attention. Go ahead.
All right. Well, okay. Just so you know, Mr. Klein, we are the Hagmann Report. We're heard live every weeknight from 8 to 10. We are broadcasting. We are part of the Christians United Broadcasting Network. So we are a Christian-oriented station. And we thank, by the way, we want to thank Christians United Broadcasting Network for hosting our show. Folks, a little bit about Mr. Klein. Mr. Klein is the spokesman for the film Innocence of Muslims. And I got to tell you, Mr. Klein, you're pretty. You got to be pretty battle-hardened by now. Pretty weary, I guess, right? Yeah.
I'm doing good. Thank you.
All right. Just a little bit about Mr. Klein so everyone knows who he is. He's the unpaid volunteer spokesman for the Innocence of Muslims, the controversial, in quotation marks, film about that's allegedly or is being pointed to by this administration for causing all the violence and such. He's a veteran. of our United States Marine Corps. He's served as a translator. This guy is. He hunted down cells in Vietnam, hunted down cells of Viet Cong and North Vietnamese Army. I mean, this guy served in the military. He learned how specific cells of terrorists operate, which is how the Islamic cells in America today operate. So from 1970 to 1977, he earned. He went to college, I believe, if I'm reading this correctly. But most important, okay. And here's the deal. Here's what really caught my attention. Your son survived a suicide blast by really listening to you. I mean, that's the crux of it. He listened to you about the operational aspects of Islam, and your son rescued 9 other U.S. soldiers in Iraq. And okay, fantastic. And I want to thank you for your service and for your son's service.
I want to thank you for your courage to have me on the show. So there you go.
All right. Well, and you do host Wake Up America with you've got about 30 million viewers at atvsat.com.
Yep.
Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to post a link to that site on homelandsecurityus.com. And anyway, without any further ado, I want to welcome you. Now, by the way, folks, Mr. Klein's a family man. He's been married to his current wife since 1970. He's got a 29-year-old son, Sergeant First Class in the United States Army. And I'll tell you what, he's a patriot through and through. And we're actually, my son and I have both hosted this program, and we're both actually glad to have you on. And hopefully you clear up some things. So, we'll
do our best.
All right. So, Mr. Klein, I got to ask you this right out of the top here. You got any life insurance?
Well, let me return it this way. I hope the guys who are coming to kill me, they have a lot of life insurance. As I told the FBI, I'm more than ready.
All right. Well, okay. Let's start out by finding out here. How did you get involved in this project? When did you get involved in this project? And what's your status now, aside from being this?
Okay. I could tell from my last interview that American folks don't understand how dangerous it is to the refugee community that I work with. So sometimes when you ask me questions, I cannot answer.
Okay.
And sometimes the other thing is that the press has no interest in protecting life, no interest in keeping these people safe, no interest whatsoever. The press that I have dealt with, they're barbarians, period. And so when you ask me some questions, I will not be able to respond. For example, one of the questions is about the veracity, the truth of the YouTube clip, which is 100% true. And I made a mistake last week by citing one of my scholar friends, to which they called me and said, don't do that again. I could get murdered. So this is a very serious situation. I will do my best to answer. Okay, so what happened in a nutshell? Make it real easy. I have a reputation in the Middle East refugee community, helping out, doing what's called First Amendment educational outreaches. I'm probably the top expert in the state of California how to organize these. The old word was demonstrations. So I always have police or deputy sheriffs there, and I helped the Middle East Christians a number of times on this. So it got back to this gentleman, Sam Basile, who contacted me several months before he began production of the movie. And his main question was, if he made a movie about Muhammad, would he get arrested? And so, of course, I told him, no, I'm not an attorney. You need professional consultation. However, everybody knows in the United States that Madonna and Lady Gaga can do bizarre things and are protected under the First Amendment. You can make a movie about Muhammad and you will be protected. And again, you need professional counsel. He thanked me, and then he asked me, and here's how I got involved. He said, my English isn't very good, and I don't fully understand the laws of America. Would you be my spokesman? And so that's why you and I are talking right now.
All right. Well, that's fair enough. Now, can you identify? I mean, you're talking. Can you identify the individual you're talking about?
No,
Okay.
that would not be fair for them. I will say that they are one of the top scholars in Islam, and a number of my friends have looked at the video, and we all laugh at how poor it is, but the content is 100% true.
Okay. Now, just to be clear, were you involved in any way, shape, or form in the casting call that went out in July of 2011 for this film?
Absolutely not. And so what happened was I met with Sam, told him, about the First Amendment, and that was my whole involvement, period.
Okay. All right. So, all right. So you really had no involvement with the production
Correct.
or anything like that. Okay. So you came in
Zero.
after the fact because.
Well, I was before the fact, and then I was drawn in as a spokesman last Tuesday night at 9 p.m. with AP, and then the next day was my work with all of these, frankly, ignorant people who call themselves reporters.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What? I got so many questions here, and we're getting deluged. But seriously,
it's hard. It's hard. I know everybody's. It's hard. It's not easy. These people want to kill us. They want to destroy us. This 1% of Islam, wherever they go. If you have 1 million Muslims, 900,000 of them, 990,000 of them will be, A-okay. But you always got this 1%, 10,000 out of 1 million, whose whole life is to kill us, destroy us. And so how do we work with a concept, a religion where no matter where they go, 1%, and I think actually that's conservative, 1% has one thing in mind, and that is jihad, period.
Right. Okay. And I agree with that.
I mean, yeah, there are radical groups, radical Islamists that we see are overthrowing nations right now with the, support of
proving the video is right.
NATO, U.S. backed, yeah. NATO backed, for whatever reason, are being used to overthrow these governments, and our so-called sworn enemy, Al Qaeda, the reason for the Department of Homeland Security and the Patriot Act. Well, now in America, they're using that against American citizens while still funding Muslims, as our government is turning more corrupt as time goes on.
Now, Mr. Klein, I've done an investigation on this. By profession, Joe and I are licensed investigators, multi-state licensed investigators, all right? And I've done an investigation on the film and the events in Benghazi, and then about where the film was posted and how it took off. And here's what I found. I found, number one, that there's more controversy, and correct me if I'm wrong here, there's more controversy, there's more questionable activity with respect to the film. And I'm not talking about the filmmakers, I'm not talking about the actors, I'm talking about how the United States government handled the film after the attacks of 9/11 of 2012 in Benghazi. You follow me? Okay. There's Okay, it's not the film. It's how
correct.
It's how Obama, Clinton, Rice, Susan Rice, the ambassador to the UN, what they did after the murder of Christopher Stevens and the others in Libya, and that ignited the entirety of the Muslim world. It seems like these two events are not related. Am I wrong in that perception? In my investigative findings, or not?
I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, I think from working with the Middle East refugee community, from working with them for 11 years, they're always telling me that they're monitoring the jihadist sites working out in the open, and that I'm absolutely convinced that knowing that the jihadists are out there doing this kind of stuff, and they're monitoring all of our stuff. And so when Sam, it's my understanding, and once again, I can't prove it, but I think Sam posted it, and I had to go through multiple interviews with the FBI. It turns out, it appears that Sam did it. That's what the FBI told me. And when he posted it, I would say probably in minutes, jihadist groups got a hold of it and said, knowing the ignorance of Obama and Hillary Clinton, the political correctness of the Pentagon and these other folks, here we can use this as our trigger to do September the 11th, 2012. So they took advantage of this very bizarre, poorly done video, but it's 100% correct. And they use it, and sadly, this points to the ineptitude and the naivete of Hillary and Obama to do this. And so I don't want to put words in your mouth. I like your question, so I hope that answered it.
Well, okay. Yeah, let me just kind of give you an addendum to that question. Okay. Now, I went through the entire. I spent days going through digital fingerprints on this film. I looked at the Craigslist entry for the casting call on. Let's see. It was July 14th, 2011.
When was this video posted on YouTube?
This video, well, actually, it's kind of interesting, and Mr. Klein, you can comment on this. Here's my findings. The video itself was done in the fall of 2011. In the fall and summer and fall of 2011. On the 30th of June, 2012. It was shown the trailer was scheduled to be shown at the Vine Theater in Los Angeles, California, under the title "The Innocence of Bin Laden." And accompanying that, thousands of flyers were written in Arabic. They were created and passed out in advance of that date. Is that true? Do you know?
That's correct. That's correct.
All right. Now, were you involved in any of the any of that part?
No.
Okay.
No. My whole involvement was First Amendment months before they did it. Okay, so.
Gotcha. All right. And for the sake of the listeners, because I'm going to go through my findings, and you can just say yes or no, and that'll also keep your sources kind of safe as well.
Thank you.
All right.
They're all in hiding. Go ahead.
I can imagine. Now, on June 29th, which was a Friday, there was a guy that is identified, or I've got him as John Walsh, and folks, you can go to this Los Angeles City Council meetings archives, and on Friday, June 29th, 2012, he went to the City Council meeting. He's always there, or frequently there, and he told the City Council of Hollywood, or Los Angeles, he said, look, there's a film coming out tomorrow, and it's anti-Muslim, and so on. And he gave his website, which I'm not going to get out, but he stated that neo-Nazis are coming to Hollywood, and told the council members, directed them to his blog. Now, that's what happened on June 29th, 2012. And folks, follow this, please. On June 30th, the next day, Saturday, accounts of the scheduled showing differ, but it looks like there were 2 showings scheduled, but the showings never took place. The theater was rented, but no one showed up. Is that correct? Do you know? I went there
and I parked across the street because I had heard through the grapevine they were going to show it, and I just wanted to see. This is, I just wanted to go and see. So I saw nobody going to the theater. I got there half an hour early. I left a half an hour after it started. I saw 0 people, none, nada, nothing. So I would assume that's what you just said is correct.
Okay. Now here's where it kind of gets confusing for me. The casting call started out for Desert Warrior film. That's the working title. Then it was changed to The Innocence of Bin Laden. Then the day after that empty screening, the where no one came, July 1st, which was a Sunday, the title of the video was changed from The Innocence of Bin Laden to The Innocence of Muslims. Now, this is was changed by the YouTube channel owner who hosted the trailer. Does that sound about right?
That one, I don't know. All I can do, you probably, from listening to you, you know more about it than I do, so go ahead.
All right. Well, we're going to continue just a little bit further here, and then by that time we'll have, I'm going to turn it over to Joe, but essentially from July 2nd through September 11th, this video was pretty dormant on the internet, basically. There were some hits, but not a whole flurry of hits.
By the way, it's got 21 million hits in English right now.
Okay.
There's 4 different major sites, and I believe in Arabic, I would guess 100 million hits.
Right, which I was going to get to.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. Once, I guess I'm more linear than normal. But once the embassy attacks occurred, and this administration, that being Obama and Clinton and Rice, all pointed to this film as the reason for the attacks. The views on this film went from, I don't know, 50,000 roughly. I've got various numbers because I was watching it right around that time. To right, your numbers are correct. You've got the Arab world and you've got the English speaking world, and they just exploded. Okay, so this film appears to be a scapegoat for the attacks. Have nothing to do with the attacks. Nothing to do with the murder of Ambassador Stevens and the 3 other Americans in Libya. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, and if I could add real quick, remember I'm a former Marine Corps officer, so I come into the office, I believe it was Tuesday morning, and I see on Yahoo the incident in Cairo, and I look and I see that the demonstrators had been stopped cold in their tracks, and I knew as a Marine Corps officer that the United States Marine Corps had done their job and stopped them and protected the ambassador. So I'm thinking, okay. And then the next day, I see where the ambassador's been murdered, and my first thought was, no, wait a minute, something's missing. There's no Marine WIA, no KIA. I said, where's my Marines? My Marines are supposed to protect this guy. So it turned out, I found out that Hillary didn't have the Marines there to protect her. So later that day when CNN came in and accused me of murdering the ambassador, and I said, no, it was Hillary, and I gave the proof. Cairo, the Marines did their job. They were, commanded to do their job. But in Libya, I accused Hillary Clinton of gross negligence and dereliction of duty, and that the blood was on her hands, because that's what they said, the blood's on your hands. Mr. Klein, you murdered him. And from that moment on, I could see I had ABC, CBS, NBC. I had all of these guys in front of me, and I saw the look on their face, and it was, this old man is correct. From that moment, it was like a Perry Mason moment. The investigator, bam, the perp has been outed. Hillary Clinton, Obama have been outed. From that moment, I became smaller and smaller and smaller, and the culpability and the guiltiness has, gone to the right person, Obama and Hillary. So, yeah, from what you're saying, I can see from the reaction that they sent their teacup poodles out here, the media, to protect Hillary and Obama and to use me as the whipping boy, but the old whipping boy whipped back on him, and so that's where we are today.
Okay. All right. Getting back to the film, and you said you may or may not know some of the things associated with this film. There are actresses and actors that are claiming that they basically acted for a movie, and what came out, what was the end result, was completely different than what they did while they were filming. Do you know anything about that?
Okay. Once again, my whole involvement was before the movie on the First Amendment, and then I had nothing at all to do with the movie. And now when all this stuff's coming out, because what's coming out I know today, but I didn't know back then. I had nothing at all to do with that.
Okay. So gotcha. You wouldn't know that the original movie that was filmed before it was released could have been changed in any way. You wouldn't know that then.
Okay, that's a great question, and that caught me completely off guard because I didn't know. I had no idea. The media came into my office last Wednesday, and they started asking these questions, and I don't know. So I'm looking. I had no idea. So you're spot on. Somebody on the other side did whatever they're accusing, and of course there's going to be a lawsuit, and that's all I can tell you.
Well, now this makes sense. Now we're hitting the crux of the things here, I believe. Now, you might know, and we really don't know each other that well, Mr. Klein, but I also write columns for Canada Free Press, and Canada Free Press has been on the forefront of this and been following this as well. Have one question by the senior editor of Canada Free Press, and I think this is a good time to ask this question. You've got a film out there that's pretty incendiary in the eyes of the Muslim world. Truthful, but incendiary. You've got the American government, basically, the full force and weight of the American government, all pointing at you and the people around you as causing the Islamic reaction.
The unrest and violence.
Right. Now, basically, what you've said already is you've got people in hiding because of this. That's pretty correct, isn't it? I mean,
Correct.
okay. Now,
Yes, absolutely.
have any of those people, are they considering launching lawsuits against the government like Clinton, Obama, and Rice? And the reason I'm asking that is because CFP is
Oh. Okay, hold on just a second, because you're thinking like an American. These are refugees. They have no idea of our laws, et cetera. So you're talking about the people in hiding?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, they have no idea. They do not understand how our legal system works. They don't understand protection. So these are you're asking good questions from an American's point of view. From a refugee's point of view, these people have been whipped dogs for 1,400 years, and the whipped dogs, all they want to do is get away from being whipped. They're not going to sue.
All right. Okay. So, all right. So then why don't you tell me what's if you know and if you feel comfortable with this. You've got, when you're talking about these refugees, you're referencing the people that produced and posted the film. Is that right? Or at least made.
I believe so, and I'm saying I believe so because I wasn't party to it. I have no idea what anybody did. I don't know what happened, so all I can say is I don't know.
Okay. No, that's fair enough. So you're kind of picking up your entry into this, just to be clear, is after or once the blowback started, you stepped up to be a spokesman for these people, basically.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What do you think happened? I mean, look, you've got
dozens of theories. You have people in all sorts of media.
Yes.
Mainstream.
Hey, I'm now a member of the CIA, Mossad. I funded the movie.
Yep.
People called me from Scotland and were yelling at me saying I had funded the movie. I'm middle class, comfortable. I have no extra money. And this guy from Scotland starts screaming at me. I said, I did not fund the movie. He says, I'm reading from the newspaper in Scotland right now. You paid for the movie. I said, sir, I don't care. You're doing hearsay evidence, gossip, outright lies. So I tried to convince the guy. I said, I don't have any money. I didn't fund it. He said, sir, I'm reading from the newspaper. I said, okay.
Yeah. The Huffington Post the Huffington Post has said you're a man who has given several interviews about the film, and is using the attention about the film to talk about your own political views, which include a hatred of radical Muslims. That's what they say about you, and you're correct in another publication saying that you are part of a CIA Mossad PSYOP operation involving Terry Jones and yeah.
Oh, that you know what? That's the other thing. They came out there. They kept demanding that the state of Israel officially support the production of this movie and Terry Jones. So these guys come walking to my office, and once again, they're not very intellectual, let's put it that way, and they're asking questions about Islam. They don't know anything about Islam. They're asking questions about the Bill of Rights. They don't know anything about the Bill of Rights, and they're this pack of teacup poodles that, they want to rip me apart. I'm just looking at them like. So I got to the point after about 4 or 5 of these guys, you start figuring out, okay, it's the same set of questions. So when they would start the interview, I'd say, let's put this to rest. Terry Jones had nothing to do with the movie. Israel had nothing to do with the movie. And then it was a standard politically correct, you offended people. And so, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, this is good. This is good because people have to understand your involvement.
Yeah, and I'm part of the Mormon mob and the Mormon FBI crowd, and okay, if you say so. I just no.
All right. Well, good. We can dispense. We can dispense with this, and I suspect your laughter is a little bit of nervous laughter because I'll tell you, being thrust in the spotlight, a pretty doggone hot one at that, has got to be a little unnerving, isn't it?
Yes,
okay.
It is. Yeah.
All right. So just so I understand this, because you're referencing the people, the refugees, or the people that came to you or that you met. Now, again, let's just make sure my identification of these, our identification is clear. These are the people that wanted and subsequently did create this video. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and once again, I only met one. Sam Basil. So you know more about these guys than me.
All right. So he actually sought you out for your help, or you sought him out, or somehow you guys got together?
No, he sought me out because in the Middle East refugee community, they knew that I had helped them a lot on demonstrations, First Amendment educational outreaches. They knew I understood how to put together, and so they said, okay. They made me an honorary Middle East Christian, and I got some awards from different denominations. And so Sam all of a sudden calls me, and we meet, and all I told him was, you know, they're not going to arrest you for making a movie in the United States. And I said, get professional legal counsel, and that was it.
Now, was this, just to be clear, was this after 9/11/2012 or before? Was this after that people started pointing at this film or before?
That Sam and I talked?
Yeah, that he said, hey,
way before. Yeah, that was like 60 days before I believe they started making the movie. And again, I had nothing to do with the movie, so I'm trying to figure out what's going on too. And these guys are real secretive. The way they survive is they throw out red herrings and everything else. They use false names, red herrings, and in dealing with this community, when we do the demonstrations at the mosques or at the high schools or things of that nature, frequently my folks will show up in disguises and everything else because the fringe elements of the Muslims, the dangerous guys, will come and photograph them and browbeat them, and that's why we have the cops there. So these guys are adept at covering their tracks just to get through the day and survive.
Okay. Are they former Muslims? Do you know? I mean, because, or are they, like, in other words, are they from Muslim countries? I'm just trying to get a grasp on this.
Okay. There's two parts to that. Sam Basil, I don't know what country he's from, and he's the only guy on the movie that I ever met with, and I met him long before they made the movie. Now, the folks that I work with in the demonstrations and things of that nature, some of them are former Muslims, and those folks are from every country in the Middle East. So I hope that helps you.
Okay. Do you know, I mean, did you have any, or do you know what their intent was on making this film? Was it a parody? Was it a documentary? Was it you know, I mean, seriously.
Well, if they wanted to make a parody, they succeeded. That's all I can say. I had nothing at all.
Yeah, I mean,
I had no idea.
Yeah, I didn't know if they would have said, "Hey, look, you know, we're making this."
Well, you know what? Let me back up a little bit. In the Middle East mindset, they don't understand parody. They don't understand, you know, the English dry humor, parody, satire. They don't understand that. So what they did was just a very bad job, and you and I would look at it and go, that's so bad it's got to be parody. But they don't understand that concept, and that's one of the culture gaps when I work with the refugee folks. I do that TV show, and frequently I will say things that you and I understand. You know, like you asked a question, are these refugees going to sue the government? That's never entered their mind. So
gotcha.
This is, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So you really don't know. I mean, you don't know what was going through their mind, and I guess that's a fair answer. You don't know what their intention was in making this film. I mean,
and you've been in communication with them lately? No. When can you give a rough estimate as to the last time you spoke with the filmmaker?
There was the filmmaker. He called me a few times on that Wednesday morning, and about 2 p.m. He just disconnected his phone, and all he basically did when he called me, I could tell he was just scared to death, and his questions and what he was saying, and plus I've got 5,000 reporters in front of me, so it's a big blur. But he did call me, and they kept demanding they wanted to talk to him. Then they started accusing me of being Sam Basil.
Yeah.
I am not Sam Basil. I am not Sam Basil.
Now,
it was getting pretty crazy.
when you talk to him, since all this craziness has and attention has been brought to the film, has he expressed any concern to you or told you in any direct or indirect way that what he produced and versus what is being shown now is any different, or is it what he intended to put out? Has he mentioned
No.
that?
No, he was basically afraid, and I could tell that he wanted to get out of Dodge, and he was more or less, he just wanted to kind of clutch to somebody he knew that knew the American system. And once again, I mean, I'm trying to talk to him, and I got all of these guys in my face, shoving cameras in my face, so it's pretty blurred.
Yeah, because we have reports, many people, just about everybody I talked to who watched the movie has stated that there are voiceovers.
Yeah, you can tell.
In
fact,
where people are, stating something in the movie, and you could tell what is the audio that is coming out is not related to what is coming or how their mouth is moving.
Yes, and the first time I saw the video, which I'm guessing is 50 days ago or so, I looked at it and I shook my head. I said, I had no idea what I was looking at. This is weird. I had no idea what. And then when the reporters started asking me about dubbing, my brain went back, oh, that's what happened. So I had no idea.
Do you think that dubbing took place? Or let me back up a minute here, and let me preface any further questions that we have by saying this: we understand, and I've got to tell you this: we understand that there are reporters or journalists or people with cameras and notebooks out there that their sole mission in life is to demonize you, demonize the filmmakers, demonize the film, demonize everything. All right.
Correct.
They're not interested in the truth. They're interested in advancing an agenda. Okay. Now, just so you understand this, we are interested in nothing but the truth. So, just so we're not gonna marginalize you or attempt to do that just because we're not going to do that. All we want to get to the bottom of what's going on here. Now, so just so we have this correct to recap here, you stepped into this. Basically, although you knew it was going on, you knew the film was being produced, you knew who was doing it, but you didn't step into the limelight or the spotlight until things got a little bit dicey, and all of a sudden you have a whole bunch of filmmakers and people that were involved in this going into hiding and asking for your assistance. Does that cover that part of it? Am I correct in that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I had no idea. When the media came in, they were actually educating me what had happened. I just said, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know.
Okay, because a reasonable question could be asked. Like if I was in that situation, somebody, I'm sure my wife would ask me, what in the world are you doing? Why are you doing it?
Well, I was surrounded by I was kind of like Custer. I was doing the best I could. How's that?
Well,
it was interesting.
It was based on your, film. I mean, what was it? Were you just trying to save them from themselves, or is that kind of how things were? Is that what you're seeing? I mean, what's your motive? I guess is that just trying to be good to these people, right? Or no?
That's all.
Okay.
That's how I got my reputation with these folks, and why they work with me. And part of that reputation is just I don't ask questions about their background. I don't ask questions what country they're from. I don't ask questions their denomination. I've got Zoroastrians and different folks involved in this group. So I was just trying to be a nice guy, and I would do it again. It's been very interesting. And so, yeah, you're doing great. No, you guys, I was on with Geraldo yesterday knowing he was his brother. They were going to ambush me, and frankly, I think I flipped it back on them pretty good. But you seem to both be very honest, and you want to know the truth. So, one thing I learned as a Marine Corps officer, when the colonel said something to me, if I didn't know, I said, "Sir, I don't know." So I'm doing the same thing right now.
That's all our listening audience wants from us is the truth, and that they depend on us to bring them the truth. So that's just to be clear.
And there's just so many reports with differing stories and theories and opinions, as I stated earlier. And we really want to get to the bottom of this as to whether the film that is being portrayed or being shown now was the original intent, because as I stated earlier, the actors and actresses say they were bamboozled.
Yeah,
they were making a film about a 2,000-year-old an Egyptian from 2,000 years ago that had nothing to do with any religion or Islamic religion. And also the dubbing over, there was a lot of questions surrounding that, and also, was this a false flag, or in theory, the movie being used to be blamed as for the attacks on 9/11.
Yeah, I smell setup all over this, and my investigation, frankly, has got setup written all over it. Again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but here's. Let me go back to.
When you mean setup, you mean the bad guys used it?
Well, I guess
we're trying to figure out.
In my investigation, here's the problem that I've got during my research. I was looking at the digital fingerprints associated with this film. Now, what that means, I'm certified in the forensic discipline of internet profiling. I was looking into the internet activity related to this video right after 9/11 of 2012. Things were very elusive. Here's what I found, and help me out here, because tell me where I'm wrong, and if I'm wrong. I mean, let's do this together, I guess.
Yeah, if I know.
Yeah, well, that's
if I know.
Okay.
Yeah, if I know, I'll tell you.
Okay. The video appeared it looks like the video name and some changes were made, and how do I put this without okay, it would appear to me, now I'm starting to sound like you, a little bit couched in it looks like there's a site called News Politics Now. It's got various names and such that had some peripheral involvement with possibly this video, possibly.
I don't know anything about that.
Okay, because
I have no idea.
Because here's the question, or here's what really struck me. They're linked to. It would appear that website has certain things in common with Stanley Incorporated. Now, that's also known right now as CGI, which it seems to be consistent with my findings that there's some link between that company, and I could be wrong, but that company and this website that had something to do with the video. That said, that company is linked to providing services to the United States military, the U.S. State Department, and the Department of Homeland Security.
Now, you're teaching me, because I don't know any of this stuff. I'm writing down notes. Go ahead.
Well, I'll send you the report of my investigation.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, thank you. I'd really appreciate that, because that'll help a lot, because I'm just trying to figure out. I got reporters who are not bright people who are reading articles from Scotland and yelling and screaming at me, and now I'm talking to somebody who's smart. So now you're intriguing me.
Okay. Well, maybe the two of us, or the three of us. I'm sorry, the three of us sitting here. Joe's looking at me like, I chop liver, but maybe the three of us sitting here can get to even more, or get to the bottom of this. That the reason that this kind of perked me up a little bit is because this company was the employer. This CGI, formerly known as Stanley Incorporated. The CEO of that company was a guy by the name, and maybe you heard of this guy, John Brennan. Have you heard of him?
I don't think so.
Well, John Brennan was the Stanley Incorporated. Again, I'm saying this is allegedly. Stanley Incorporated is located in Arlington, Virginia, and the video looks to have been changed or altered at some point.
Wow.
Okay. And
bizarre.
If I'm correct, Stanley Incorporated was awarded a $164 million contract to print new U.S. passports back in 2006. But here's the kicker: 2 employees of that company, along with a third individual employed by another defense contractor, which is the Analysis Corporation, they were identified as the perpetrators who breached the records of the U.S. Passport Office on 3 occasions back in 2008. the improperly accessed.
Pretty spooky. This can get pretty spooky.
Yeah. That
I have no idea. I have no idea what you're talking about right now. Now you're in charge.
Okay.
I'm just listening.
All right. Again, this based on and this happens, and I have to give a hat tip to some YouTube channel by the name of Montagraph, because it seemed like we were kind of bumping into each other as I was doing my investigation, he was doing his. But anyway, Brennan served as a close advisor to Obama in the 2008 in matters of intelligence and foreign policy. Well, gee whiz. And he also had a 25-year career in the CIA. So here's what we got. We've got 3 people, employees of defense contracting companies, 2 contracting companies, breaching the passport office in 2008, and the one of the key witnesses in that, a guy by the name of Lieutenant Quarles Harris Jr., was found murdered after he negotiated, or after he decided to cut a deal with investigators or federal prosecutors. So here's why I'm saying all this. I guess the question is now: are you being duped? Are you? You.
I have no idea. From listening to you, you just hit me pretty hard. So you and I are going to have to talk some more as far as what do you mean by duped? You mean like the feds were behind Sam putting this movie together?
Well, what I'm saying is there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah,
there's a lot of overlap between.
I'm willing to listen. The whole thing is bizarre. I'm willing to listen, and so maybe, I would like to get back to the movie. I would like to talk to you guys, on a different road, because right now I can't answer anything you're saying. And again, duped. The only thing I was duped on was would he be arrested under the First Amendment. On the rest of the stuff, I have zero knowledge what you're talking about.
Okay, that's fine. Let's talk about what you know now. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So we got one massive blowout. We got the Middle East on fire. We got the president coming, looking at this film and saying that, man, this film caused murders of ambassador and this hasn't. We have not lost an ambassador, folks, since 1979 to violence. Since 1979, it's an act of war. But they're pointing at you now. Well, so, okay, as the official spokesperson, has anybody from the government contacted you yet or tried to reach you yet?
The only people that contacted me, the FBI contacted me that night, but the whole intent was protection. I met with them the next day for like 6 hours, and then the third and last day. And I truly believe that their whole intent was to protect me, is to protect me. And they asked me a few questions about Sam and the posting of the video and some other things like that I can't disclose. But these guys seem legit, and am I being duped? I could be, because, I'm just some little old former Marine, and my job was to locate, close with, and destroy the enemies of America with close combat and fire superiority, which is a hell of a lot different than this stuff. So, the FBI has been really good. The first time when they contacted me that night, it scared me to death. And then I remember saying to the guy, you guys coming to cuff me? No. And they came out, and everything they have done has been, I believe, to protect me. They haven't asked me any untoward questions. They never threatened me, anything of that nature. So they told me exactly what to expect. They said that this division of the FBI exists in particular for instances like this, so that when somebody like me makes statements and then everything goes crazy, they exist because there are terrorist cells that want to kill me. And their whole idea is to let me know ahead of time what to do, how to prepare, etc. So that's the only involvement I have had with any federal group, period.
All right. Now, wow. Okay. So you're telling us, and again, I'm with all due respect, and I'm just trying to get at the truth here. You're telling us that you kind of walked into this with the intent of helping the refugees who had some involvement with the production of this film, without really knowing anything about the film. I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
I think that's good. That's correct.
Why would you do that?
Why wouldn't I?
Well, you just.
I guess. By the way, this stuff does not bother me. This stuff does not bother me. These guys wanted to do something. They come to me all the time for doing these First Amendment educational outreaches where I'm face to face with guys dressed like Osama bin Laden who want to kill me. Why do I want to do this? Because I want the truth to get out about Islam, to educate Americans. And like Nathan Hale said, I only regret that I have only one life to give to my country. And people are beginning now, I can sense, people are beginning to see how dangerous this radical 1% is. So why did I do this? Why have I been doing it for the last 11 years? Why did I go out to the mosques and multiple death threats before and all this stuff? So that my grandchildren have a fighting chance against these guys in the next 50 to 70 years.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone could fault you for, because look, Mr. Klein, I got to tell you, we started out as the Northeast Intelligence Network. We started out by investigating the threat Islam posed to America after 9/11. We turned over lead after lead. We turned over pieces of information. We turned over locations of Islamic training centers in the United States run by Sheikh Mubarak Ali Jilani of Jamaat al-Fuqra.
Correct.
We actually infiltrated their compounds. We turned over information, and Sheikh Mubarak Ali Jilani put out a religious statement against us. And I got to tell you, against me personally, okay. And I got to say,
it gets a little nerve-wracking. Yeah, it gets a little nerve-wracking.
Mm-hmm. But see here, now what you're saying is after 9/11, you kind of did the same thing, right?
Absolutely. I used my skills that I had learned in cell warfare in Vietnam, and it was so easy. It's so easy to find these guys. They don't care. They don't cover up. They're in the mosques. They're so easy to find. It's just amazing to me. And the part of the reason, you got to throw the dice. Like Robert E. Lee said, you have to love your army, but you get to a point in time where you have to destroy your army to win. And that is at the point, like my wife, when my son was blown up by the suicide bomber, she said, I have been restraining you. Go out, do whatever it can. If you get killed, you get killed. If I get killed, I get killed. Right now, she's at home. She is not afraid. I'm not afraid. And we both know we could be killed at any minute, but we're Americans. We're going to live American. We may be naive, but I'm sure, when Adolf Hitler and the Bund was running around in the United States and doing things, it's really, to me, it's very similar to watching the rise of the Third Reich, how we're losing our civil liberties. And the guys put this amateur video together, and they have rocked the world. That, to me, is the most amazing thing. I mean, if God can do a miracle, he can take the worst production in the history of Hollywood and rock Obama and Hillary. They're lying, and I can see them. We're having a debate using the media. Like I'm doing these shows, they're monitoring these shows, and then she will walk out, and I get blamed again, and she got caught lying and everything. And it's like Mr. Smith goes to Washington. Why am I doing this? Because I'm naive and I believe in America. Why am I doing this? Because I believe in what you're doing. Why am I doing this? For my grandchildren and generations yet unborn. Am I sophisticated in this area? No. And so when God calls us to do something, whether it was fighting in Vietnam or my son being blown up by a suicide bomber, then a real American stands up and he says, by God, I'm going to do the best I can. And if they want to criticize and laugh, I really don't care, because I look at the pictures of my grandchildren every day, and I wonder what life is going to be for them in 50 years or so.
Okay, so you're approaching this from a First Amendment point of view. Is that what I'm reading?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Altruistic, First Amendment. If we lose the First Amendment, we're not Americans. Why do all oppressed people of the world come to the United States? Because we can peaceably assemble a petition to government for redress of grievances. A little bitty insurance guy, former Marine Corps officer, can go toe-to-toe under the rule of law, where the lowest of citizens before the law is equal to the greatest, most powerful man in the history of the world. And you know what? Frankly, right now, I'm feeling pretty damn good, because the American system's working good with all of its faults and all these crazy people. and all of this other stuff, I can see when Hillary and Obama come out, they are just getting nailed. And when I watch the UN Ambassador John Bolton and these other people, I told my wife, I said, they're talking as if I wrote the script, and that they have been caught in the biggest lie in the history of the United States, and they're guilty for that ambassador getting murdered.
Okay.
So for me, this is the charm of America.
Okay, wait a second. Now, what lie did you catch them in? Let's make sure we're on the same page here, because I believe...
Yeah, Hillary blaming the movie, and then she didn't know that this was an orchestrated effort. And you and I both, hey, I'm a former battle planner for the Marine Corps. As soon as I saw this going from Cairo to Libya and then 20 other countries as a battle planner in the Marine Corps, the complexity of that is very hard. I have to admire what the skills and the sophistication of the level of those guys out there doing this through all the 20 countries. That was well planned, well conceived. And for Hillary and those guys to come out and lie again, it was spontaneous, blame it on the video. And that's what you and I had talked about earlier when we talked earlier today. This is well orchestrated, and only a naive, inept, bungling buffoon like Hillary Clinton and her boss, Barack Hussein Obama, could have done so bad, and then be so naive to think they're going to browbeat some little old insurance guy out in Southern California. That, to me, this is the stuff that history is rich with, and that one guy does not yield, does not bow, pulls back the curtain from the Wizard of Oz, exposes the emperor has no clothes. And for me, this is America. That's why I'm willing to, die. And my wife, this is America. And I hope to God that I can see a lot of people are beginning to awaken to the violence of this 1% or more of Islam. So right now, I'm very pleased what I see.
All right. So, okay. And by the way, folks, by profession, you're an insurance agent out in California. I mean, that's
correct.
That's why you mentioned little old insurance, because there's some confusion there. All right.
Yeah, they go, oh, how can you know all this stuff? I come in, I have pictures of me in Vietnam and my son and my grandfathers in World War I and everything, and my Marine Corps sword, and I say, look, I'm going to say some things that you guys don't understand because you think I'm just some podunk little insurance agent, but my job as a translator team leader leading kill teams outside of Hamburger Hill, finding and locating and destroying cells of Viet Cong working with the North Vietnamese Army, you're going to look at me and say, you're just some idiot insurance guy. And the insights that I have, and that's why the Marine Corps called me back in to advise them on what I did in Vietnam, and they were going to try to use it in Iraq. Paid me $500 an hour. They thought it was a little bit different than a plain vanilla insurance agent.
Okay. Well, yeah. But given the fact that what you stated though, after the attacks of 9/11, you went out, and correct me again if I'm wrong or putting words in your mouth inappropriately. But pretty much like we did, we went out and tried to learn everything we could about the Islamic threat here in America.
Absolutely, yeah. And like in Vietnam, the best way to do it is face to face. Let the guy threaten that he's going to kill you, because then he's telling you everything. He loses temper. He's telling you everything, and I've got translators. He has no idea I could understand him. And it's just if you got the cojones to do it, like you guys, I can tell you guys, it's all too easy.
Right. But okay, but then as investigators now, and look, I am. Both Joe and I, we've been in the trenches here and turned over lead after lead to the FBI, only to find out that the FBI, are dining with the very people that we're investigating.
Funny you should say that. Yeah, funny you should say that, because when I tell that to my friends, my family, to the press, they go, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about." And I'm thankful that you're confirming that. Thank you.
Well, yeah, not a problem. It's the truth. I mean, we've again, we have pictures of FBI agents at the picnic tables with the people in central New York, so at the Catskills. But that said, okay, I mean, so you had an education. You knew what you were. I mean, you knew what these people were like.
Absolutely.
So
that's why I walked right into their face and said, "Yeah, absolutely, no problem."
So okay, and so that begs the question. You know, why sign on to the film, especially if you didn't know everything about it? Which again, I know we're rehashing old territory,
Okay.
but
Yeah, I would do it again. Maybe I don't make sense or anything, but see, I have the ability now to communicate how dangerous Islam is. So once again, like being in combat, sometimes you have to do a recon by force where people, you just saddle up and you walk right into the teeth of the enemy and they shoot you, they wound you, they kill you, then you back up, then you regroup, you do another, you issue another fragmentary order, and then you go out and you annihilate them. And so part of the deal of doing this is there's no sophisticated plan out there how to read, uncovering cells of terrorist jihadists for dummies. And when I have an advantage on the inside I got to be real careful what I'm saying. Then I walked into it knowing that who knows, and you never know. Well, you do a high school outreach and you pick up 3 or 4 people who are going to help you. Well, if they speak Farsi or they speak Arabic and they're feeding me information, then I would be foolish to turn that job down.
right. No, that's true. So okay, so you again, you did kind of know. I mean, you had to have some inkling that when you agreed to be the spokesman for this video, that man, it's going to get rocky. You knew that. I mean, you had to know that, right? I mean,
well, when I first saw the video, I said this is not going to be rocky, and I went to sleep. And that's when I knew exactly that's exactly when this thing broke. I went, man, this is inside job. Absolutely, no doubt about it.
Okay. When you say inside job, you're talking about what?
Al-Qaeda taking and finding it online and then using that as an excuse to precipitate their actions and what they did. And then yeah, exactly. And frankly, from my background, I'm the best guy to be this spokesman. This does not frighten me. I know exactly what I'm up against.
All right. So okay. Well, no, that does make sense in the from what you're saying. I mean, it's plausible. Let me just put it that way. But you're going to have a lot of detractors, especially in the left-leaning media, coming after you.
They're real nice. Yeah, they're real nice people. They posted my house on the internet. They've been up banging on the door, and it's. But you know what? My wife and we're cool with that. That's part, if you're going to be an American, if you're going to enjoy the First Amendment, I mean, once these guys start up with their hate speech stuff and offended, it's like, just be quiet. I have a First Amendment. I didn't walk around getting shot at in Vietnam, so some lunatic from the left can say, you offend me.
No,
to me, that's humorous.
No, I agree with that. But,
okay.
Well, let's get back.
Maybe we could go for how much longer are we going to go? I'm starting to wear down.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. We'll cut you
20 minutes left on the show till the episode ends, and you feel free to step out anytime you'd like. We can end the interview and continue with our show till the end, or you could stay for the rest of the show.
Yeah,
whatever.
You feel 20 minutes. Yeah, if it's 20 minutes, push. Go ahead and push me. Push me as hard as you can. For 20 minutes, go for it. Just go for the juggler. Don't beat around the bush. Boom, go for the juggler.
No, we're just
doing good. I like the interview.
I know shell shock, and I got to tell you, and I know being ambushed by the media, it's an issue.
I got a question. I don't know if we covered this.
Go ahead.
Did you know, Mr. Klein, of Terry Jones, his involvement in this film as a promoter of this film, or is he involved in this film more or less than it is being reported?
Okay, then I think, because I got done doing an interview before this, so my mind might be muddled, but Terry Jones had nothing at all to do with this movie whatsoever that I know of. And then, however, he has contacted me since then, and to the best of my knowledge, he had nothing at all to do with this movie.
All right. How about, I want to ask this question for a number of reasons. Do you know Pam Jeller?
I know who she is. On my television show 2 years ago or so, I interviewed her and Robert Spencer at the same time. I know who she is, yes.
All right. Okay, because in a CNN interview that she did last week, she denied knowing you. So she.
That's true. I just, that's interesting. I just watched it, and she did not know who I was when we did the interview. She didn't. I was no. So I would say she has forgotten that we did that, and I would say that she's telling the truth to the best of her knowledge. I just watched that video.
And you know that you spoke at one of her presentations 2 years ago, right? You remember that?
No.
Okay.
Pam Gillers?
Yeah, I believe it was. Oh goodness, I think it was either the American Freedom Defense Initiative or it.
You know what? There's several Steve Kleins. I do not remember that.
Okay.
There's several. There's Aaron Kleins. There's Steve Klein's pretty common name.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. What do you hope? What are you trying to accomplish at this point? What's your end game here?
My end game is to watch those numbers get bigger and bigger and bigger, and that more and more people look at the truth about Islam. And if Geraldo and the rest of these guys want to paint me as a lunatic, I know that history is going to show the truth in 15, 30, 40, 50 years. What's really interesting is my family has really rallied around me. My son, my daughter, and my parents had gotten really frustrated with me going out to the mosque and everything. But now, when they're watching the videos and they're seeing how vitriolic and crazy these people are, you cannot reason with them. But they're seeing the truth of Islam, this 1% fringe. They're seeing it for the first time. And then my family has rallied around me. And so once again, I know that when Grandpa is dead, my grandchildren and great-grandchildren will look back and say, everybody thought he was a lunatic. Everybody thought he was crazy. But he knew exactly what was going on. I'm getting cheered now. When I walk down the street, people recognize me and they're cheering, go America, go, don't back down, tell the truth. And it's 10 days ago, they would have not known me, or my distractors would have said, why do you keep going back and doing what you're doing? Nobody pays attention. Nobody cares. But you know what? Mr. Smith went to Washington, the rule of law, all this stuff. And again, I can tell Hillary Clinton and Obama are wincing with pain because this one little bitty insurance agent will not shut up. That's the dream of America. Dream of America is not a house and a car. The dream of America is the First Amendment. We lose the First Amendment, game's over.
I agree. Mr. Klein, I have a question from listener in the chat room, and they would like to know if you know how and why the Egyptian television network aired the anti-Muhammad film.
Well, I would say that they played right into the it's bizarre. These people, I'll give you a good example. We go to high schools and we pass out flyers about Christianity. We have one flyer compares Muhammad to Jesus Christ. And we did this high school in San Diego, and then 3 days later, the largest newspaper in Indonesia posted it on the front page of the biggest newspaper, basically saying that Muhammad is a pedophile and all this other stuff, and that Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life to heaven, and they're all Muslims. I'm looking at this going, why did they do that? I can't speak for them. In a court of law, I can't speak for these people.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Well,
good question.
Yeah, I mean, what this Egyptian TV host did, and folks, you can find this online. His name is Khalid Abdullah. He is a top billed, if you want to call it that, host of a TV channel out of Egypt. What he did was he aired the video clip, the trailer, and then essentially just began calling for everyone's death associated with the video. Just in case you haven't caught up with that yet, Mr.
Well, I heard a little bit about it, but again, not to be arrogant. It's like, hey, I'm an American. Make my day. Come on, get real. I'm going to wince and whine. A former Marine Corps officer who came up the ranks. No way in hell.
Well,
that is not a nervous laughter.
No, now let me ask you this: what happens if this backfires? Because obviously you're a proponent for free speech, but what happens if, much like the MTA ads or the Transit Authority ads by Pam Geller, what happens if this thing ends up?
That is a great question. And you know what? The history of mankind for 6,000 years has all been a fight for tyrants versus a free speech. Tyrants, you know what? For a while, it might go down for a while, but it's written on our hearts. It's in there, free speech. No, I'm very pleased with what's going on, and if they come in and they try to do it, then man will rise up. Rule number one of the laws of nature, and nature is God, is always seek peace. And once people say you got to shut up, and you got somebody like you two brave gentlemen, me, Pam Geller, and others who say, no, you will have to kill us to shut us up. I mean, the Third Reich, the Germans, the generals, they went out and murdered and everything else, and then through it all, through the conflagration, and this is just, history is written in buckets of blood. It is not written in black ink, and this is part of the fight for the First Amendment, tyranny versus freedom.
Is that what you set out to do? I mean, did you grow into that?
That's what I set out to do. Yeah, 11 years ago. That's exactly when I went to Vietnam. That's exactly what I set out to do.
Good point.
Raise my right hand, support, defend the Constitution against tyrants and all these other guys. Absolutely, absolutely. I will never stop till they kill me.
Okay. So no, I mean that's a good point because that's what you were fighting for. I mean, look, you are assigned to protect the Constitution. We all are basically as Americans, but
right,
you
absolutely for our grandchildren. Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
And to protect in the protection of freedom of speech, we have to protect speech we not only agree with, but speech that we do not agree with, as long as it's lawful. And if that is your intention and your goal, then you are doing a service.
That's it. You nailed it. That is it.
Yeah, I can sense you're getting wary, so we're going to try to make the remaining moments here as painless as possible. But still, a lot of people are going to accuse you of capitalizing or attempting.
I don't care
on this. Okay.
I don't care what they say. I don't care. Like I told Geraldo, I don't care, and that's what makes me dangerous. I truly don't care.
Would you? I just got a email here. If I mean, obviously the Christians are constantly under attack. Jews are constantly under attack. Is this in revenge for? Would you say that your position is in revenge for those attacks, or is it pure freedom of speech?
Freedom of speech, period.
Okay.
Freedom of speech, period.
All right. I
good question. That's a good question.
Well, again, we've got this is a listener-driven show, so what we want to do is get as many questions answered as possible.
And not only that, there's so much controversy surrounding this film, so much,
yes,
mainstream, alternative media theories and reports out there circulating. And what we wanted to do is get to the bottom of.
Do you feel that? Wait a minute. Do you feel that this film was, any way, shape, or form, was responsible for the death of the ambassador and the three other Americans?
The death of the ambassador and the three unfortunate Americans is laid at the feet of Barack Hussein Obama and Hillary Clinton for refusing to do their job. Had they done their job, as happened in Cairo, if they had done in Libya what they did in Cairo, this movie would have less than 5,000 hits. Nobody would care. You wouldn't be talking to me. Nobody would know me. None of this stuff would have happened. And that's what I told ABC, CBS, and all those other guys. And that really hit home. I think that's the whole point. Had they done their job, and now they're proving it by pulling out ambassadors, trying to get the Marines into the embassy in Sudan and everything else. Had they done their job, you wouldn't be talking to me right now.
That's true. Now, lightning round series of questions. Do you believe that Obama is a Muslim?
Once again, facts, evidence, and proof. You're an investigator, you and your son, so I deal in facts, evidence, and proof as much as I can. I can't answer that question.
Okay. Do you feel that that the current level of crises is attempting to establish a caliphate, if you will, across the... Okay.
Oh yeah, you're seeing the unfolding of the third great jihad, the caliphate, the rebirth of the Ottoman Empire. It started with, what was his name, Hassan Banna, the Muslim Brotherhood guy. Oh, absolutely. And for Obama and Hillary not to understand that is proof positive. So that they are complicit in their stupidity.
Do you think it's stupidity, or do you think it's an agenda?
A little bit of both. I think, seriously, I think they hate America. I think they hate the First Amendment. I think they hate the Bill of Rights. I remember Hillary Clinton years ago in an interview saying, the American people are armed and dangerous. And I jumped up and said, thank God, it's the only thing protecting us from you.
Well, that's true. What happens if from this Obama gets up, and Obama's going to speak to the United Nations this week, and he's going to demonize and actually condemn this video? What's your thoughts on that?
Then I will continue to point my finger at him and say he's a murderer and he caused the whole thing, as I did with CNN. You can see my picture, I can email it to you. It's pretty cool. When they accused me of the murder, and I just stuck my finger right in the camera, and I said, no, Hillary Clinton is responsible for the murder.
By way of her policies, or by way of her...
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Not allowing the Marines to do their job.
Okay, when you say not allowing the Marines to do their job, Ambassador Stevens was over there, had essentially no support whatsoever, no security detail.
Yeah, in my opinion, the guys that murdered him were the detail assigned to guard him.
Do you believe that Ambassador Stevens could have been an intelligence operative?
I've never thought of it. I don't know. I didn't know.
Okay. And I got to ask you this too, because as I was doing this investigation, I was thinking about this. Do you think that this film is being used to advance a larger agenda? In other words, not only assault and create a case of against the First Amendment, much like Fast and Furious is doing with the Second Amendment. Do you think that this film is being used as a chess piece in a larger agenda to attack the First Amendment?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And of course, it's, boy, I'll tell you, I just feel like we're playing with fire here. Although
we are, but that's the history of the world, playing with fire. We can back off, but the fire is going to come back again. Might as well be on our watch.
What do you hope to see happen at this point? I mean, the entire Middle East is on fire, and everyone's pointing to this video, which you and I know is not true. But the bottom line here, But the bottom line is perception. Regardless, they created. When I say they, I'm talking about this administration created that perception.
Yes.
And you stepped in as a fall guy for this, which I believe.
I'd do it again.
It's interesting.
I'd do it again.
Okay.
I'd walk right into there if I was in the Marine Corps leading point. I'd walk right in there and say, "Let's go." When Americans act like Americans, we die like Americans.
But do you think, in the end here, though, and I just want to, Mr. Klein, look, I believe in the murderous nature of the Islamic religion. I'm not even sure it could be described as a religion more than a political ideology. It's more of a political ideology than a real religion. But that said, could this be a pawn in the larger game here? Could you have played right into their hands, meaning Obama and Hillary, as opposed to the other way around?
Well, if I did, I think I did a pretty good job of flipping it back on them. When I called them murder, I don't think they expected that.
Well, I'm sure many people have made that accusation against them, but in a number of different things. But what do you want to see? What do you want to see happen next? And we're going to close the show with that question. What do you want to see at this point now? What's your objective here that you hope to see happen? Aside from Americans waking up. Americans wake up, fine. You're educating Americans on the perils of this.
I would like to see the Americans understand that if they want to keep their First Amendment, they better fight for it, because these folks from Islam are doing all they can to come and take away our First Amendment, and the willing pawns in these guys' hands are Hillary Clinton and Obama. So that's what I'm seeing. And I'm seeing just the very fact that you're calling me, all of a sudden people are starting to take a look. These guys are 10 times, 1,000 times worse than the Nazis and the fascists of Italy and Japan in World War II. This is truly the third great jihad, and they ain't seen nothing yet. World War II will be hailed. We'll have battles in Dearborn, Michigan that are bigger than Gettysburg in the next 50, 70, 80 years. Our grandchildren are going to be terrified just to go to school or to go to the grocery store, and that these folks that 1% drive the 99% of Islam, and the people of America have no idea what they're going to face. When I deal with my refugee friends and my cameraman was shot to death an hour before in the alleged Arab Spring of Egypt, and they're saying their relatives in Egypt and Iraq are absolutely mortified when their kids go to school if they'll come back alive that day. That's what I see in America over the next 100 years.
Interesting. All right. Wow. Well, Mr. Klein, I got to tell you, for someone who really had little knowledge of what the video was about and stepping in and agreeing to be an unpaid volunteer spokesperson, it's a rather interesting position to be in right now. That's for sure. You're not. Just help me here. Just reassure me. Are you hoping to see some sort of confrontation here in America, or are you trying to?
No. I know from history. I know what's going to happen. I'm not hoping, but I know it. I would much rather that we, did it like World War I and World War II. We do it over there, in Europe again, and keep them out of here. I don't want them here. Hell no. I've seen widows and orphans sobbing and dying at my feet. No.
All right.
I absolutely do not want to do that. No, I want this place to be peaceful.
All right. Well, that's fair enough. Okay. You know what? You've been a very look. You've turned down interviews by CNN, by MSNBC, by the numerous print and other television media, but you've agreed to come on our show, and I got to tell you, I want to thank.
Anytime.
I want to thank.
Anytime. Anytime. You guys are good. I'm not doing those guys anymore. I'm doing guys like you who are bona fide Americans.
Very good. Well, we appreciate that vote of that.
Absolutely.
All right, my friend.
All right.
So there you have it. Joe, any last questions? Or?
No, I just want to thank Mr. Klein for coming on our show and telling us his side of the story, and we appreciate it.
Yeah. Mr. Klein, thank you very much. All right.
All right. God bless you guys. Thanks.
Thank you, man.
Okay,
right.
bye.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Stephen Klein, the self-appointed spokesperson for the innocence of Muslims. Joe.
I have more questions than I did at the start of the show.
Yeah.
There's just things that are puzzling to me. Maybe we'll probably never get to the truth. As Mr. Klein, obviously, from his own words, was not too informed on specific aspects of the making of the film, of if it was doctored or not. Apparently, he is just taking care of the media relations while trying
90 seconds.
Help the filmmaker.
I think
I don't know. I'm confused.
I got to tell you, folks. I think if you listen to this again, I think what was not said speaks volumes, and that's my take on this. What was not said, or what couldn't be said, or what was, the confusion behind this speaks volumes. And I think that right now we've got, and I agree with you, Joe, I think we've got more questions than answers.
60 seconds.
The one thing I can say is that Mr. Klein is a strong advocate and very puts his words into action when protecting the First Amendment. So
yeah, but to what end? Okay,
yeah. I know.
Because we have that right.
We have this propaganda, these false flags, these excuses, these justifications. We have this police state, and we know of all the alleged terrorists that are out there, how many attacks have taken place, on American soil.
Good point.
But,
look, folks,
tomorrow we'll get into this more.
And Barnhart,
Greg Evenson, Stan Deo. That's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And please don't miss it. And we'll probably have one more guest by the end of the week.
10 seconds.
Thank everyone for joining us on short notice, and certainly thank Mr. Klein on short notice, but we had to get him before he went into hiding. Good night, everyone.